We've had a lot of early takes on who's not showing up. Like right now with the Carolina Panthers, Brian Burns is doing a hold in.
Not a little late in the game to hold in. Work for TJ Watt.
Meanwhile, you've got Nick Bosa, too, with the San Francisco 49ers. I feel like the Brian Burns, Nick Bosa situation are tied together. Nick Bosa is going to get whatever the contract he's going to get from the 49ers, and the Panthers are going to come in with whatever that percentage is. So what's the national read on what exactly is going on with these late holdouts, hold-ins just before the start of the season?
It's really interesting because Chris Jones has been the one, obviously, that we've talked about the most.
With Kansas City, right?
Yeah, with Kansas City. And that's the one that I feel like, God, did we not just do this with his last contract? And I think that he's making a massive miscalculation. I think that both sides they're both pretty entrenched in their decisions here or in their stances. It is, to me, the most interesting thing, though, is that while we're focusing on Chris Jones, I get the sense that because we're not talking as much about Nick Bosa and Brian Burns, that those are the ones that are more likely to get resolved.
Okay.
Tomlin, in his weekly presser, was saying, like, look, I fully expect to see Bosa because we just went through this with TJ Watt, and it was a very similar situation. The difference was TJ Watt did the Brian Burns route and held in. Granted, he was holding in. He still came to training camp, and he was working off to the side. It was also it was like a little post-COVID, so training camp was different, and I wonder how much that factored into it. Like, he felt like I'm putting myself in a better position to be at parts of training camp and like have these trainers working with me versus doing it on my own, the Nick Bosa route at this point. But the Steelers, I very vividly remember I had a flat tire in my car, had rolled over a nail, and was in the middle of getting my tire repaired at the sketchiest tire repair shop by the train tracks. And then always by the train tracks. I have never seen anything like it. And then all of a sudden, TJ Watt has a mega deal come through, and I'm like, I gotta go. And like, thankfully the tire was patched and I sped out of there. Probably got another nail in my tire at that point. But that got done the Thursday before they opened in Buffalo in 2021. And so I think I get the sense that the Bosa contract situation is on the same timeline, that it's going to get done this week, that it's going to get done before Sunday, and him not being at training camp or being around for things. It doesn't matter. You're Nick Bosa. TJ Watt showed up. He had 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, and a tackle for loss, and 1 defensive player of the year. But I completely agree that the Brian Burns situation is directly related to Nick Bosa. So I'm sure the Panthers are over here like, look, we will slip you money under the table if you can just get this done so we can get our stuff done because you're holding things up. But the difference to me, though, with the Bosa and TJ Watt is that I get the sense that Bosa is a little bit more stubborn than TJ Watt. Like, there was never a doubt in my mind that the TJ Watt stuff was going to get done.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Bosa and his family, I get the sense, are going to hold firm. I think that TJ Watt at the end was like, I don't care, just get it done. I still think the 49ers are going to get it figured out, but it's, I think, been a little bit more contentious.
Yeah, at the risk of pointing out the problem here, Brooke, the Chiefs and the Niners are expected to play in the Super Bowl. They can dick around with their defensive ends. Brian Burns and the Panthers, they do not have time to fiddle and diddle.
No.
They need him on the field to beat the Falcons on Sunday. And they need to win this game. I'm not saying like it's must win to make the playoffs, but this is a division game. This is one of the teams you're fighting against. You actually have a legitimate chance to win your division. You cannot afford to just be like, oh, okay, cool. We'll wait for Chris Jones, who the Chiefs can obviously win without.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we'll wait for the Niners, who the Niners can obviously win without. I do think it's more of like the Steelers situation. Like, the Steelers without Watt,
it's not good. It wasn't good when he got hurt last year. It was a completely different defense.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Panthers are kind of in a no-win situation because because it all ties back to Nick Bosa. You're just kind of stuck. To me, I think the tact that Burns has gone is really interesting, that he decided last minute, it appears, to be like, oh, actually, I'm out. So I'd love to know what the front office knew, like if this was always the plan or if this took them by surprise too. If he said, look, you've got until this date and then I'm just going to stop practicing, or if I think the way
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Let it be in God's hands. And now I'm done waiting for the Lord to give me a paycheck, and I'm going to, really double down on this.